You ever notice that every 5 minutes about 10 years goes past? That's kind of the experience I feel like I'm having as a dad. The kids are older than they should be, and they're older than I remember them being, and they're wiser than I realized, and they keep surprising me with, attitudes and stuff, which, obviously didn't come from me. They came from their mother. But I have these moments where frequently at the moment, I look around and there's this person in my life that is just there again, and there again, and there again. And you start to think maybe those people that weave in and out of your lives are people that actually maybe even like you, potentially love you as a friend. Who knows? But what I'm trying to instill in my kids is over time, you don't have to have a best mate right now that you hold on to for the rest of your life. There will be moments that come and go, and you'll see these people that are essentially, we use the phrase, they're birds of a feather. You keep coming back together because you've got the same passions, the same interests. And today on Father Figures, I'm pretty excited actually by this one because usually I only get to talk to Heath, and let's be honest, we get a bit over that. So today on Father Figures...
I'm in the room.
Oh, sorry,
I'm right here.
There. Dude, seriously, special comments guy, back off. The point is on Father Figures today, we get to have a long-form conversation with one of those guys that just, I don't know, keeps showing up. Cam Want, right after this on Father Figures. Now, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, in the studio in the spaceship today, what's your name again?
Let's go with...
I'm in my mid-40s now. I don't remember.
Homer J. Simpson.
Where am I? Who is this? What does the J stand for?
Yeah.
J. Sorry. It's going to be a good episode when we start with season 3 Simpsons quotes. Heath McSullivan, how you doing, sunshine?
Hey, I'm good, brother. Good to see you, man.
Beard looks wonderful today.
Tonk you.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
Did you change your shirt for this episode?
Yes.
No, you
Of course
didn't.
I do.
You did not.
Did you?
No.
No.
I didn't change your shirt.
No.
You won't let me get that close.
Oh, anyway, let's not go there.
I'm got a quick question. You're so much older than me.
Mm-hmm.
and a lot grumpier. Obviously,
well, I'll take that one.
But you recently produced a book for your 50th that had individual pages of people that people that have been important to you in your life. If you look back at that book, a lot of those people, there were some people that were there consistently over 10, 20, 30 years, but there are people in there that you met on and off through your life.
Yeah.
Tell me about one of those. Who's the person that you were surprised looking back at you were celebrating your 50th.
Yep.
You were looking back and thinking, who are the people that sort of surprised you that they were meaningful to you?
It's funny because I don't think I remember much of my childhood, and one of my best mates, Warren, who I was in this comedy group with for many years.
Yeah, sorry, ladies. I haven't introduced you as a former comedian for a while. Former comedian and professional fundraiser.
I love it as former comedian. And Warren, I would always say, could tell me more about my childhood than I could because I can't remember stories.
He was watching.
Yep.
You were asleep.
Yeah, I was there. He recounts it. I go, did that really happen? He says yes. So when I was having all of these dinners, I remember catching up with a guy who we did these beach mission-y coffee shop type things back in the day in the early 90s. And we did like 3 years in a row. Yeah. And when you do those things, if you guys have ever done them, it's like camp. It's literally like camp. You just form these such strong bonds. Yes. And so for 3 years, we were like best mates, me and Rob.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah.
Rob,
yeah,
the guy, the dude, Rob. The Rob guy.
The Rob guy.
Yeah.
And he's the one that stands out as, I hadn't seen him probably since about 1993. And so have seen him nearly 30 years later.
Wow.
And again, he's telling stories that I just don't remember. I'm just nodding politely and going, "Oh, you remember that story?" I do not remember anything.
Yeah.
But it was he's the one that surprised me most.
I love those stories because they speak of the longevity of friendships where you connect over something wonderful. In this case, those Scripture Union, what were they called?
It was a Youth Dimension coffee shop.
Youth Dimension coffee shop.
There you go.
At me. And I did a few of those things too. But many years ago, I was working in a band called Compliments of Gus because I'm a former musician. and there was a guy that would help us get our songs out to radio, and his name was Wes J. And I met his sons, and they were absolute rat bags.
Yeah.
But it turned out they're pretty good
They
dudes.
still are.
One of them's in the studio with us. Cam, how are you,
Oh,
sunshine?
gentlemen, hello. You know what the weirdest part about sitting in a room with you two is you were just going back and forth and carrying on. Is that, I don't know if I can chip in yet without being formally introduced. So I've just been sitting here just, hello.
I'm a little disappointed that you didn't.
Yeah,
The,
sorry.
the good thing about having Cam here is he's the person who's not former anything.
Oh, are
you know,
you
you're a
current?
former musician, former comedian, current host of The Daily Show.
Current host of The Daily, current personal trainer.
Exactly. The current dad.
Current dad to 3 kids.
Current husband.
Yeah.
You're
current
so
brother.
current.
You're very.
Thank you.
I don't know what to
appreciate
do with that joke, but can we workshop that later?
It's electric, that joke. Did you see what I did there?
It's amazing.
Current.
that. That's why you're a
Let's go.
former comedian.
Hey, nice work.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Going
Roll
out
the
high.
tape.
That was good. Hey, mate, you're a husband to Erin.
Yes.
And a father to 3 young people. You've
Yep.
got Ethan, who's 14, Brady, who's 12, and Lacey, who's 10.
Correct.
Apparently, they're all aging at about the same pace.
Yeah, it's crazy. As you were in the introduction talking about how quickly time just seems to disappear. You know how on Facebook you have all of the memories that pop
Sorry,
up?
you just said Facebook.
I know,
which
right?
is
And that has
automatically
aged me instantly.
Yeah.
We're all
But-
40-year-olds
I know,
now.
right?
You're over
But
40.
you have a look, and one popped up, and it was my eldest, and he was probably 2 or 3 at the time. And I'm thinking, that just seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
And yet, instantly, here he is. He's
Yeah.
almost taller than me. I'm 6'2", and he's 14.
Wow.
And just thinking,
Wow.
how was that just yesterday and yet forever ago in the
Yeah.
same breath?
Did you go into marriage thinking I want kids? Was that a desire?
Yeah, we absolutely spoke about it.
Yeah.
So as we were kind of getting everything all set and sorted, kids was definitely on the agenda for us.
And did you and Erin agree? Like, did you have those conversations? How many do you want? How many do you want? Those kind of.
Well, I came from a large family, so I had 5 kids. And my number one rule was going, I am not having 5 kids. Because to be a part of a big family is incredible. Now that we're all older, we've all got, except for one, kids of our own. And it's brilliant. And the family dinners are absolutely wild. They're incredible. But when it comes to parenting 5,
Yeah.
oh, that's a completely different
So
scenario.
you
as opposed to
observed mum and dad doing that, and you're like, I don't want that. So what size family did Erin come from?
So she was the eldest of 3.
Okay.
So we have 3 together ourselves.
Yes.
And so for her, that was just the sweet spot. That was the magic number.
Okay.
And so I'm like, it's not 5, so fine. Let's do
Because
it.
to me, when I see a couple that have 3 kids at 2-year intervals, I'm like,
Yes.
you guys are planners.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
You
Very
had-
much so.
you had
Well,
a
your
game plan.
siblings were 2 years apart, you were saying.
Yeah,
You
2 or
know.
3 years apart
Yeah.
between. So there's 10 years between me and the youngest, and there's 5 of us with all of our siblings, 5 boys. So
Yeah.
very strategically planned. Mum wanted 6, but she only got 5.
There you go.
There you go. Fun fact.
Shit, hoping for the girl.
Yes.
So yes, yes. How many? There's 5 boys.
5 boys.
5 boys. You grew up with 5 boys.
Yep.
We sporty.
All sporty.
Yeah.
The amount of competitive testosterone that was flying
I was gonna say,
around
what were the
through
fights
the
over?
teenage years. There were many smashed windows. There were many holes in plastered walls as fights turned into a little bit more than just what they should have, and people literally got pushed through walls.
Yeah, wow.
And so there was lots of things that got broken along the way.
Are you the tallest in the...
Yeah, I am actually.
And
Yeah.
so were you, you're the oldest and the tallest. So were you kind of the bully of the boys, if you like, or...
Oh, I don't know if that's necessarily the right word for it. But
No,
there was...
that's what the brothers would call it. But that's not
Let me
what
ask-
he
I
would
was going to say,
self-
if
I
you
wouldn't
ask the other ones,
self-identify
maybe
that
they'll
way.
give you a slightly different version.
Yeah.
But from my take, no.
So growing up,
Yeah.
your family, what did the folks do?
So my dad worked in music, he worked in publishing, he worked in publicity. Mum for a long time was a nurse. And so just had a real empathetic heart, which I think really shone through both her life but also professionally as well, that when she had kids, then all that empathy just got redirected towards the 5 of us.
So we all get this comment, you're so much like your, and the end of that sentence is father or mother, you are so much like your...
I don't know if either, but maybe I'm a little bit of a blend of both, which is an interesting comment to
enjoy
say
your
that
hugs,
I'm
if that
neither
matters.
but both. Because, yes, they also. But like I carry a lot of similar passion for my dad working in a similar industry.
Yeah.
But with my mum, I definitely feel like I've definitely got a bit of that empathy and
Yeah.
a bit of that compassion
I would have said
to
that.
be able to just, okay, so it's a bit tough right now. Let's have a chat. Let's have a coffee.
Heath, you work with this bloke most days of the week.
With the days that I turn up.
Yeah.
Well, I mentally and emotionally turn up. And sometimes you're physically here too.
Yeah.
It's great.
You know, just if we just pause on that for 1 second, Cam has won awards internally in the organisation,
Right.
literally for coming to work.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah,
In fact, I even...
I'm sorry.
No. So here was the best award. The best award that I won within the organisation was for coming back after a month of leave because they realised how much I actually did. True story. And so they were like, thank you.
Beautiful.
We never realised how much you actually did. So that was the first month that I had off after my older son was born. And so
That's the best.
I came back and everyone was like, my goodness, here's your award.
Here's your award for coming back.
Yes.
I'm a little upset that we didn't have the trumpet fanfare to
Yeah,
introduce
yeah.
you.
No, that's all right. I know, like, we can add that in post-production.
Yeah.
So,
We
but you've got a massive work ethic, is what I hear there.
Oh, I would like to think so. Definitely.
Are you a fix-it kind of dad? Kid comes to you with problem. Do you lean towards fix it and move on?
Yeah, I think I'm naturally, just because I'm a man, I sit in that space.
Yeah.
But also, and I think this is where the influence from mum kicks in, and I know this is not the Mum Figures podcast, but with just, there's that empathy of just wanting to sit with the kid, to just be able to just go, all right, let me just hear what's going on. You tell me, because it's really helpful for them to be able to validate that experience and those emotions rather than just going, okay, let me stop you right there. I got the solution. This is what we've got to do.
Yeah.
But to actually let them start to process as they share, that's where I think there's that strange little mix of going, cool, I want to fix it, but I also just want to sit with you in this for a little while.
Well, so far I'm trusting that you're an emotionally healthy individual, and that's okay. We will dig deeper, though. We'll get better questions. Erin is your usually, it's that couples thing, equal and opposite. What's her?
Oh, we're very much
Makeup.
opposite. Yeah,
Yeah.
very opposite. So I'm an internal processor. She's an external processor.
Yeah.
For her, she's very much extroverted. I am to a degree, but probably a little bit more introverted than people might think. Just, cool, you work on the radio, you work in a public space, you're going to be that extrovert, fun-loving guy that loves people. Like, yeah, I do. But I also need my own space to recharge as well.
Yeah.
So whereas Erin is just 100% extrovert. She is just energized by people. She needs to be around people all the time. So that's, we're very opposite in a lot of ways.
And what does she do for work?
So she's about to start a brand new job, actually.
Oh, here we go.
So she's been working in the health industry. So is it an industry? Is that the right way to say it?
I think you say space these days.
Yeah.
The health
Health
space.
space.
Yes, she's been
Yeah.
working in the health space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so is about to transfer to a new job within the health space.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was going to be, she's going to become an airline.
Yeah,
pilot.
In
So-
the unhealthy space.
I was-
Yeah.
No.
Now she's into marketing. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's had a history in hospitality. She's had all sorts of different little odd jobs. She's also got a history of accounting, doing all sorts of bits and pieces like that too.
So, Cam, five brothers.
Yeah.
There's been some violence that has taken place. You were the tallest, and I mean, look, Heath being my co-pilot here, he's the gentle, loving, kind one. I'm sure you've never done anything.
No. Never raised
Forcefully.
my voice in anger.
No, I can't
No,
imagine that
no.
ever happening. And actually, if it did happen, I would
Crikey.
cower in the corner because
Yeah.
it would be that sort of a shock.
We should do an episode all in our dad voice, the whole episode. What are you doing?
Get back here.
Yeah, boring episode. Anyway, go on.
In the end, you just sound like a farmer with it.
Yeah.
Come around, get behind, come around. Cam,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a genuine question at some point. You look back and you think they're funny stories to tell now, but they were, they're real emotions when you were a kid. What's the worst thing you reckon you did?
Oh, I probably pushed my younger brother MJ through a wall. That was probably that'd be up there. We were watching the Australian Open, so
Right.
we were watching the tennis tournament, and it was an Aussie guy against someone from Sweden.
Yep. Okay.
And there was some people in the crowd on the TV that were cheering in a really obnoxious way for the
Right.
Swedish competitor. And he was taking the obnoxious cheers and he was bringing them into the lounge room. And I was just like, mate, come on.
Hang on. So
stop it.
I'm trying to get. I mean, I love that this story ends in pushing through a wall. I can't figure out how it gets there yet.
Oh, don't worry.
But so he's just repeating what
Yes.
and
Yes.
you're getting ticked because you're kind of engaged
Yeah,
in the
because I'm like, I just want to watch the sport, mate.
Yeah, right.
Just, that's enough.
Yep.
Please.
But he's playing for the punchline. He thinks this is
Absolutely.
funny.
So then I'm like, mate, one more time.
This was practice, Dad work.
Yeah, right.
One more.
And so,
you do that.
Except
instantly,
the
he's
punchline's different.
rolled the dice for one more time. And I've jumped up off the couch. He was on a chair in the corner that was closest to the door. And the house that we were living in at the time, there was a hallway around the back, so you could run loops around the house
right.
between the living areas and
not get
the
caught.
bedrooms
Yeah.
and go round and round and round. So I started chasing him around. I'm like, mate,
He's up and gone.
You're done. So I'm chasing him around and then hide in my bedroom. So I can hear him running around thinking that I'm still chasing him. And I literally, as I hear him approaching, jump out of my bedroom door and just rugby tackle the bloke straight into the plaster. And it cracked from ceiling to floor. And there was a monstrous hole in that. Oh my gosh.
That's the best.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was so good.
How old are you roughly at this time?
16, I reckon.
You're 16, he's
Yeah.
like 14.
14, yeah.
Yeah, old enough to know this would cause some damage.
100%.
But the adrenaline is pumping. And
Oh, absolutely
yeah.
it is.
So
Yeah.
often as a parent, you're watching the adrenaline pump through your kids and you think, when do I step in? I mean,
Right,
I'm assuming Dad wasn't around, Mum and Dad weren't home.
Dad was home. He was over in the corner somewhere.
Yeah.
And as soon as he heard the crack of the
yeah.
plaster,
Yeah.
then that was the, oi!
Yeah.
And then our hearts sank as we
Yeah.
had to go, oh no, we've actually done something
We
wrong
are
to the house
doomed
here. We
now.
are doomed.
So you've got that dynamic where you've understood, looking back, obviously, you've understood, hey, that's my personality. I'm a bit of a competitor. You are a competitive person.
Super competitive.
Super competitive. So are you trying to win this podcast right now?
If there's an MVP, I want it.
Yeah.
Heath, what's the score? what's
MJ
the
hasn't been
current
on it
point
yet. It's okay. You're in front. You're
Yes.
winning.
Yes.
So you look back, you're going to be the parent to the child you just described.
Yeah.
What are you saying to that kid in that moment?
Yeah.
In that moment, what are you going to say to that kid?
I have no idea, to be honest. And I'm at this age now with my older son who's 14.
Yeah.
So, and he's super competitive. So he loves sports. He loves to play basketball and footy.
Yeah.
And they're his big things at the moment. And so often when it comes to managing the emotions around how he performed on the game, how his teammates treated him or didn't treat him, it's a roller coaster. It really is, to be able to just go, okay, you're feeling all the feels. I get that.
So,
But we need to take a step back. So,
well, let's talk about you then. You
Yeah.
know this is in you.
Yeah.
You get what they call the white line fever.
100%.
Are you a different person over the line than you are behind it?
Oh, mate, completely different.
So the beast comes out in you.
Yeah, when I'm across that white line, it's just whatever it takes to win. Within reason. Yeah. But
I love that caveat. Within reason
Yeah,
means
he's not
whatever.
like, he's not like shanking people. you know?
No. That's right. But like super competitive.
What I've
Like, I
understood
will
about that
push myself.
caveat is it's different for every single person. Within reason. Well,
Totally.
a stud to the face. That's within reason. Yeah.
But as far as with what I can control, I'm
Right.
going to just
Yep.
leave it all out there.
So as you've gotten older, you've obviously, you get some self-control around those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Is that an area of that you work on as a dad, helping you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Even there's times where if I've been trying to correct any of the three of them in some ways, and they've just, when the kids just push your buttons.
No.
And
does that
they
happen?
just intentionally want to go there to
Yeah.
see what kind of a reaction you get. And I found myself, because...
both of us need therapy just thinking about
I know,
the question.
right? Yeah, sorry.
I don't know
But-
a time when they're not pushing the buttons.
Yeah,
But anyway.
I've had these experiences where, in hindsight, the reaction in the heat of the moment has been so not cool.
Oh, yeah.
It has been something where I go, you know what? I, as a parent, overstepped the mark
Yeah.
in my response
Yeah.
to trying to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
And some of my most favourite moments of parenting, of being a dad, is then when the dust is settled, you then hop into their room afterwards, you sit down and you have a chat, and I go, mate, I just want to say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just stepped way past the mark. I shouldn't have said ABC. I shouldn't have even responded like that. And I think that's incredible to model to our kids. That when we're in those moments, to be able to go, hand on heart, I stuffed up.
Do you remember, was your dad like that? Did he ever do the...
I don't remember.
Don't remember.
That's not to say that he never did.
Sure.
But I don't remember. I'm in my 40s now. My memory's a little scratchy.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's interesting when you're living in a space where I think for you, you're aware of emotional health and you've processed a lot of emotional health. And I feel like you've done a fair bit of deliberate work, yeah?
Yeah, I would say probably unintentionally. Given that my wife's worked in the health space, there's been a lot of discussions about mental health in particular.
Has she worked in mental health?
Yeah, she has.
Yeah.
And so to be able to almost piggyback off her learnings, to be able to piggyback off her experiences, to be able to then process it myself. It's quite funny. I've never actually seen a therapist. I've never seen a psychologist. I've never actually done anything like that. But that's not to say that I won't or that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, I never have.
Yeah, I was. My wife's a trained art therapist, and so when you know your intimate partners so well, I know when she's trying to use a line on me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so she's learnt to. I mean, maybe she's just a lot more subtle about it now. She's disguising the techniques. But I think that ability to talk to one another about what you did wrong in the heat of the moment, because there are times, and Heath and I have talked about this, where your the other half says, "I need the dad voice, I need the authority," and for me, sometimes I just don't want to play that role. I don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Oh, 100%. There are times, even just over the last week with one of my other kids, we had a situation at school that we had to step in and deal with, which then there was consequences for the next couple of weeks. And I was just like going, I really don't want to actually deal with this. I really don't want to step in and be the bad guy here, but I know that it's required. And so you do. Even though there's that little thing in the pit of your stomach that you acknowledge that it's uncomfortable, you acknowledge that it's a bit like, oh, gosh, I really wish I didn't have to do this. But you know it's the right thing to do.
Friend and father.
Yeah.
Two slightly different roles, yeah?
Oh, 100% they are.
Yeah.
100%.
So where's the, like, I don't know, have you got a thought on, I guess, where the line is between...
Yeah.
Because I think every parent loves that idea of being, I was going to say besties, that's the wrong word, but...
No, but I think we enter into the idea of parenting going that my kids are going to be my best mates.
Yeah.
That we're just going to hang out. We're going to have the best time all the time.
Yeah.
And I think the line is actually fluid.
Oh,
I think there are occasions where you do just get to hang out and you do just get to enjoy each other's company. You have a laugh and you're just mates. But we can't neglect the responsibility of the fatherhood, of having to step in to be the one to bring correction, to bring a bit of discipline if it's needed. Like, we can't be exclusively one or the other, I don't think.
No,
there's a fluid line that kind of rolls through that, depending on the environment, depending on the situation and the scenario. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
So you observe that, you know, we always talk about they absorb what they observe.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, maybe for both of you boys, what are the disciplines you put in your own lives?
Yeah.
I guess we talked there about that emotional overload where you've reacted poorly to the kid and the kid needs, you know, you just go and stuff it. I'll stomp my foot and raise my voice. I might even, you wouldn't smack your child, would you?
Cam?
Yeah. But that's a difficult thing, right? Because I go back to, and we may talk about this as well, but I was raised in an era where a smack was very, very normal.
Yeah.
In fact, my father was in that generation of teachers that had to transition from
the strap,
giving the strap or the cane to a student. I can't imagine the parent-teacher interview these days.
Oh, mate.
Dad, I got smacked by the teacher with a cane today. That's...
The principal pulled off his belt and whipped me with it.
Yeah.
Like...
Whereas and I'm just old enough to have grown up in the generation of the parent would say, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
Not what did they do.
Yeah.
So it's that's in one generation that's changed. So we have had to find new tools and new ways to discipline. So what's the...
I mean, you're referring to what are the things that you're careful of that your kids don't model?
Yes.
Is that kind of it?
And the disciplines that you've put in place
Yeah.
to make sure that you can manage yourself
Yeah.
when the pressure comes.
I don't know that I've got things in place. I think it's still a very much I've just responded and then realized halfway through responding that it's the wrong response.
Yeah.
I think the things that I do try to control in front of my kids is maybe how much I'm on my phone.
Ah,
That
that's good.
that's really like I'm really conscious of it. I'm really like if we're sitting down to watch TV, and we all do it, we sit in front of the TV and the first thing we do is grab our phone because we want to watch the TV and scroll.
Yeah.
Now, my two younger kids both don't have phones, so they can't do that for starters, and they berate me if I do it. Like, Dad, are you watching this or not?
Ooh.
I love that.
Good.
And I'm like, of course I'm watching it, but I'm also doing the important thing here.
I'm being adulty.
Yeah.
I'm paying the bills.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This is
I got to
this is
remember
not
that one.
Tetris,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going to ask you for your parenting hack. That's it right there.
That's it right there. Yeah.
That's what I would do. I don't know, Cam. Do you have the things that you're conscious of
Yeah.
in front of the kids?
Look, for me, and if anybody knows me well, they're going to be not surprised that this is the avenue that I'm going to go down, but just prioritizing my health and fitness.
Yeah.
Not only just because of what that does physically,
Yeah.
but also emotionally for
Yeah.
just carrying the mental load of everything. And hats off to my wife, who seriously carries significantly more of the mental load of the family than I do.
When you say that, what does that mean?
So for me, that means just keeping all of the plates spinning, keeping everything rolling, all of the different.
She's maybe the household manager. She does the.
Well,
is that what?
for a lack of a better term.
Yeah,
but
I'm just trying to think of the shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not on the position description. Wife.
I interviewed her for that role and checked her references. And,
Also, she smelt good and nice.
Held up. Yeah.
but it's just carrying the thought processes of, okay, we've got to make sure that that's done with the kids' school. We've got the email. They've got to get that form filled out. They've got to transfer the money for this. We've got to pay for the sport fees.
Yeah.
We've got to.
It's
It's just all of those things, keeping all of that stuff spinning. Which for a lot of it, to be honest, I'm just along for the ride. I help out where I can.
Yeah.
But still just going, I know that by a default, you're kind of carrying most of that.
Because what's a normal day for you? Describe a normal weekday.
Okay.
Because it's pretty routine.
Yeah. It'll be fairly routine.
What is it?
So it would be waking up very, very early.
Which is what time?
Somewhere around about 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Sorry, get out.
Yeah.
This is why I wanted him to say this.
And
Teach
because-
Justin a thing or two
Because
over here.
outside of work in the radio, I'm also a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And so if it's not to train myself, it's to then go to the gym to help train other people.
Yep.
Either in a group class environment or a
I
one-on-one
could
environment.
do that bit.
Yeah.
I could do that bit.
Yeah.
Lift the thing, run
It's
the. I
super
could
fun.
do that
At
bit.
5 o'clock in the morning? I doubt it.
Once a week.
So then by the time I've done that, I'm often home by 7-ish, maybe 7:30. Quickly have a bite to eat, get the kids set for school, do the school run, come into radio, start to work on that. And often, once I've finished up that, I'm back at the gym for a couple of more clients or classes at the end of the day as well for a couple of hours. So it can often be around about 6 to 6:30 roughly before I end up getting home. And then often it can be, cool, we've got to take the kids to sport training. We've got all the extracurricular activities that we've got to do. And then often by about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, once you finally sit down, you roll over and go, it's time for bed.
Time for bed, yeah, because
we'll-
you're getting
and
up again in about 3
and
hours.
we'll do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're a guy who naturally fills your day.
Yeah.
My day starts. My diary, by and large, starts empty.
Yeah.
And fills up as the day goes on.
Yeah.
So I'm just explaining that. I mean, I
That. It starts empty, which is code for unorganized. I haven't thought about it. I'm being spontaneous. I'm
Free
all
as
the
a bird.
best
But
in
I-
a good way, man. I'm not like.
no. Well, no, you were being mean. So
Yeah, all right. Let's keep going down that path.
no, what I've observed is, and again, I go back similar to the family structure. You'll find the different personalities
Yeah.
through the family. One of the things I look at is the band that I was in, because I don't know if you're picking this up, but this
Former musician.
pardon, former
former
musician,
musician,
former
yeah.
musician, reminds me a lot of the guy in our band, Matt Young,
Oh yeah, of course.
who was
yeah.
the drummer. So he was a cyclist,
Yeah.
massive fitness freak,
Yeah.
amazing, like actually understands how the Tour de France works.
Yeah.
But he was a guy that I would sit beside, and I look at the personalities around me, and I've always, as I said at the start of this conversation, you're a guy that's been in my life randomly every 5 years or so.
Yeah.
We just sort of find ourselves either doing events together or like we are now, working in the same media space, as opposed to health space. And so I find that I do feel challenged by you, but I'm also old enough now to know that that's not me.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that, but I couldn't have a day that when it goes from here to there and it's exact. Whereas for you, I think what you're saying is
That is
actually-
every day.
Yeah, but that brings a level of comfort.
Oh, it does. I
Yeah.
think, especially once you have those periods in life where unexpected hits come along. One of the things that I fall back on is my routine.
Yeah.
To know that it's not going to throw everything out of my life. Will it take up a significant amount of my headspace? Absolutely. But it's not going to throw everything out.
So are you which of the children is the opposite of you?
Probably my middle son, Brady.
Yeah.
So he would be the one that, it's not that I least relate to, but it kind of is. Because even though we've got three all raised with the same household, the same parenting styles, we've got three very, very individual human beings
Of course.
that are all in their very separate lanes.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But it's also really challenging.
So Brady's
So-
he's the gamer.
He's the gamer.
He's the
Yeah.
gamer. So
Yeah.
he can. How many hours could he game for if you allowed him to? I guess.
If you were to let him go,
yeah,
he wouldn't stop.
he would,
Yeah.
He would just keep going.
Yep.
And then realize it's 3 a.m. and I haven't
Yeah.
eaten.
Yeah.
And why has no one given me lunch? It's like, mate, that was 15 hours ago. Like, he just zones in. And part of that is just the hyperfixation with his ADHD.
Yeah.
Right.
That once he ends up
Yeah.
on something, for them to change and to adjust anything can be a little unsettling.
Yeah.
But when they're hyperfixated on something, that's where they exist.
Yeah.
So I was saying to you before that the things that you put in place to discipline yourself, and
Yeah.
some of them are genuine, they're fitness disciplines, they're
Yeah.
time disciplines. The school run is a discipline that is part of your day. That's deliberate time spent.
Yep. Yep.
And then so you're finding that quality time. It's pretty similar for you, I think. You've got quite strong routines, don't you?
Yeah, and perhaps it's a little bit because one of my kids is neurodiverse, so and functions better in sort of routine. So to take him out of that routine is an involvement. So you've got to I did something different last night. Literally, I had a mate coming over to help me work on this trailer that I'm rewiring to take the kids away on a holiday. And I had to explain to him from like the moment he got up yesterday morning that the night routine was going to be different. And then when he got home from school, we explained it to him again. But that's a little bit about trying to manage him better. But it's also natural to me because I'm actually quite a organized, routine kind of person.
And can I point to you, the reason the three of us are talking is because we've been friends for many years.
Yeah.
It's not the only reason. We obviously making a podcast and trying to help fathers figure things out. But that's also the role you played in my life.
Yeah.
You were my boss at CBM.
Oh, yeah.
for
Oh,
a
yeah,
while,
right, yeah.
Unless you say that didn't work.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, on
awkward.
purpose you forgot about
awkward. Yeah.
But we tried to start a new thing, and I remember that thinking, that's going to suit me because it's new and I'm going to create underneath. I was only 21,
Yeah,
22 at the
young.
time.
We were all
And I
young.
didn't have that enough of the adult brain to know how to balance the part of Justin that people want, which is that spontaneity and that joy and that thing that I bring to the room. That's the part, and this is the part that I want to get to. Is there's part of me that I've always understood people like that part of me in the room. The other part of me, they don't want the running late for the plane. They don't want the he's having a conversation with the person at the checkout because that's more important than that part that becomes the frustration. As a dad, you are trying to split the difference all the time with your kids because you recognize, because you're a grown up, you recognize the stuff that naturally, when you said before, there's one of these kids that I naturally get along with almost. We always struggle with that language because we love them all equally.
Yes.
But there's ones that you naturally click with because they're probably more like you.
Yeah, and I'm at the stage right now, actually, with my eldest, who's 14, that I genuinely love hanging out with him.
Yeah.
We have great chats. We have incredible just times together because we relate and we bond over a lot of similar stuff. But right now, I thought about this just a week or two ago. I'm just going, I really love hanging out with this kid.
Yeah.
And I kind of get the sense that you're enjoying this one-on-one time with me too. And it's just going, this is really cool. This is really nice.
Yeah.
So I said at the start of the conversation, every 5 minutes, 10 years goes past.
Yeah.
There's stuff now that we're doing as 40-somethings, 50-somethings.
40, I'm okay with that.
That we're looking back and going, what was the wisdom that I got from my dad or from the father figure in my life? Was there something that you got maybe from your dad or from a father figure in your life that you realize you're playing out now?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think one thing that my dad said very early in my parenting journey, we weren't even talking about parenting. He just kind of dropped this little nugget in. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to hang on to that. But we were just talking about, because so often it's about correction and it's about discipline. And it's about going, all right, cool. Let's just realign a few things. Let's take a step down this path. That wasn't quite right. Let's maybe look at it a little bit differently. And the one thing that he said to me was going, you need to focus more on encouraging the positives more than just critiquing and correcting the negatives. So that when there are positive things that you see, hey, that was really great when you did that, to call it out, to say it publicly at the dinner table in front of everybody, to be able to just go, this is the kind of behavior that I expect. And this is what I love to see as a decent human being. Yeah. And I want to encourage more of that rather than just focusing on that wasn't good, don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But we do need to do that. But to be able to elevate that positive feedback too, to be able to just go, that was great, more of that, please.
And do you think you do that? Are you
I
conscious
try
of
to.
that?
Yes, I'm really conscious of it.
Yeah.
To be, whenever there's something, it was interaction, when I see that they cared for somebody else, when I just stuff that decent human beings do.
Yeah.
Each time I see it, I have to call it out.
Yeah.
I just have to say something, and I have to encourage and honor it for going, you're a good human. That's what a good human does.
Yeah. I think we've all been taught the positive feedback sandwich.
Yeah.
Something good, something negative, something good, except more recent studies say 10 good things for every one thing you want to correct the child on. And I think this is the point that I keep driving towards with these conversations with dads is it's the hardest thing because I don't want to put pressure on dads, but what you model will be remade. That's the ingredients. The ingredients that our kids have to work with are the ones we give them. Mm-hmm. And I think that we worry a lot about external influences. Are they hanging out with the right kids? Are they playing with the right team? All those, the external. But we are still and forever will be the greatest influence on our own children's lives.
Yeah.
Heath, I guess I would throw that to you too. The wisdom of, what have you carried forward?
I think what I've carried forward is to make sure you always close the security door properly. That was one of my dad's things. That's that moment where you go, yep, I've turned into my dad.
I've turned into my dad.
We've all had those moments where it's like, oh gosh, I've just turned into my parents.
Here I am, right here. No, look, I think there's lots of things that you intrinsically carry forward that you perhaps don't recognize where they come from, and they've actually come from your own father. And I think there's a lot of that. I think my dad, I would say, and I've said it before on an episode, as much as I would have complained that he never played with me or never had time for me, when I look back, I go, no, he did that lots.
Yeah.
At the time, it never felt like it was enough. But as an adult, I can look back and go, no, man, my dad gave me all the time that I could. And he, if I was working outside, he was digging a hole, I was out there digging a hole with him. It was that kind of thing. And I think I've really tried to carry that on to my kids, to go, be really conscious of how the time that I spend with them.
Yeah. Time poor is such a common phrase now, but I think a few of these activities which we talked about, they're not things that you have to prepare for 8 hours, do for 3 hours, and then pack up into it. They're
right.
Let's go outside and hey, Dad, I dug a hole.
Or let's go kick a ball. Let's go shoot hoops.
Yeah.
It's the now bit, I think. I think if your kid comes and asks you to do something, you say, I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah.
They literally will stand there and look at their clock and wait
like,
for that
it's
1
been a
minute.
minute.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Because in their world, they want to do that now. They're not interested in doing it in 15 minutes' time or 20 minutes when you are. And I think it's that discipline of going, no, okay, I've got to stop and just do this. And this is only going to take me 2 or 3 minutes to do whatever it is with this kid.
Yeah.
But it's going to make an enormous difference to them.
And this was the other thing that I kind of picked up too, that I carry as well, of being, say yes where you can.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to these moments where your kids, and perhaps they're really little at the moment, mine are a little bit older, but it's the same principle that applies, where the kid comes up to you and says, hey, Dad, can we play teddy bears? It's probably the last thing that you want to be doing because you've had a big day, you've had a lot of stuff going on. But what they're really asking is, hey, Dad, will you spend time with me?
Yeah.
And there will reach a point in life where these kids...
They're not going to ask that.
They're not going to ask that anymore.
My experience right now is exactly that. I'm having little moments with my 18-year-old as he finishes up VCE, as he's heading towards uni, as he's heading out the door more often. And I'm saying, could you just give me a minute?
Cats in the cradling it.
Totally.
It'll end up full circle. And you're
Yeah.
right. It'll end up being the other way around.
Yeah.
That we're trying to get into their schedule and be like, hey, can you just spend some time with me?
And can you imagine if your kids did actually come up and say, hey, Dad, can you just spend some time with me? Versus, hey, Dad, can you play teddy bears with me? Like, I think if we could actually see what they were asking, we would never say no.
Absolutely.
If your kid came up and said, hey, Dad, can we just spend some time together? You'd say yes.
Yeah. And there are so many times where the kids have asked all sorts of different variations of that question. But essentially they're meaning, Dad, can we just hang out and spend some time together? And it's the last thing that I want to be doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, But then I always have that little thought, and we just spoke about it, of going, they're not always going to ask to spend time with you. They're going to grow up, they're going to live their lives, they're going to leave the nest.
And it's good soul food for you too.
Yeah. To
remember that the pausing, and my goodness, if our generation's learnt anything, it's the word mindfulness. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate that too. Sometimes mindfulness is, we have Matchbox cars. What if we made them drive on the couch? You know, what if we put extra bubbles in the bath and we made the bubbles so big that they took over the shower or whatever it happens to be? What if we messed up the lounge room that I just tidied? My son, I was asking my kids recently what are some of their favorite things, and one of my kids said cooking. Cooking is something that I picked up. I was scared of cooking when I first got married. I thought I didn't understand. It's a funny thing to explain now, but I genuinely thought I couldn't cook. I must have cooked something because I got through uni. I don't know, 2-minute noodles.
2-minute noodles, man.
That'll do it.
But now I genuinely love it, and I'm a bit more experimental. But one of my kids loves the cooking process. But my discipline is letting him use the big knife, letting him throw the flavour in he wants to try, letting him do the thing. So the mode of control factor, especially for men, what can you let go of to allow a moment to happen?
So true.
Because we start by going, we've got to let go of time, but actually we've possibly got to let go of what's playing on the stereo, who's on the phone, whether I have another desire, because you're transferring that heart moment, that desire of I want stuff for me, because so much of dadding is about when's it my turn, when do I get time, and so you're actually letting go of something to create a moment. I guess I was going to ask you about maybe some key principles, 1 or 2 key principles that you think you live by as a dad, but I feel like we've touched on a couple already.
I feel like we have.
Yeah.
It's essentially, and one thing which, to come back to a verse in the Bible, Luke chapter 6, verse 31, which is essentially treat others just as you want to be treated. And for me, that's one thing that I'm always trying to instill as a principle in my kids, of just going, you want to be treated with respect, you got to treat other people with respect. You want to be treated with compassion, you need to treat others with compassion. And it's just that constant cycle that rolls around.
And they will pick up so much from the modelling of you as well. They'll see you be compassionate to people. They'll see you having time for people, and that's what they'll want to emulate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Except when you cross the white line in a sports field.
Yes. And then it's on. And then ain't nobody treating anybody like that.
Win. Cam, I think it's safe to say that you get the MVP for today's.
Hey!
Yeah, without a doubt, man.
I think-
you got
yeah.
it there, right there. There's
Can I
a little
get some
trophy.
stats? Have you got any official
Yeah,
stats?
we got. Well, there was 3 dad jokes. I think you've popped in there,
very
which is
good.
which
Yep,
are
you're
right
welcome.
up near the top.
Yep.
You've managed to actually speak without tripping over. For me,
I
as a
blame
dad,
you for that. That was you were supposed to be the you were supposed to be the guy. Come on, getting under.
and you've put up with Justin and I.
Yeah.
I mean that's you, and you've survived the podcast.
What do I win?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you come on the podcast, there is a grand prize at the end of all of this for all the dads. And honestly, I would like to give this to all of the parents, dads especially, but all the parents listening today. Your prize for getting to the end of the podcast with the beautiful Cam Want is a nap.
I'll take it.
Done.
We'll catch you next time on Father Figures. Cam, we love you. Thanks, mate.
Love you guys. Cheers, brother.